everybody, and welcome. What we're going to be doing is trying to have a look at the way in which we can stay healthy and on top of the current situation that's around us. What's the most important thing for health? The most important thing for health, well, if you can just imagine a river. A river is running, it's flowing, it's moving away any toxins, waste products that are accumulating in it. Now imagine a stagnant pond. A stagnant pond doesn't have any flow in it. It will accumulate bits in there, it will accumulate bacteria in there, and you know what? It stinks. That is not good health. And so it is with our body. What we need to have is a very, very good flow, a good flow of everything, a good flow of blood, good flow of veins, good flow of your lymphatics, good flow of air through your nasal passages and through your respiratory areas as well. So what we're going to show you today is the ability to be able to help the immune function by keeping things flowing. Now, the very first area where things get a bit restricted is usually around this area, because this is where we tend to hold on to everything when we're working, when we're tense, when we're worried, or even when we're recovering from a cough, something like that. So because this is a junctional area, it gets very tight and restricted. So the first thing that we're going to look at is how can we free off this area in ourselves. Now, because we've got the drainage mechanisms happening here and getting restricted, what we really want to do is to try to free off the first and the second ribs from our collarbone, the clavicle. So what I suggest that you do is you just stretch yourself open, really shrug your shoulders up and dig underneath with your finger pads, your fingertips. And then when you can't dig anymore, shrug a little bit more and dig up a little bit more. And then press downwards towards the floor at the same time as dropping your shoulders down. And then take a deep breath and drop your head back. But at the same time, you really are fixing onto those ribs. So you're allowing a nice, almost like encouraging the rib to come back down again. Another breath in and just let yourself drop. So basically what you're trying to do is to prevent that first rib from thinking that it's your earring and clogging up your thoracic duct and the lymphatic channels. And then give it another go. Okay, just come underneath the clavicle, collarbones, take the slack off the skin, huge shrug upwards, dig those fingertips in, really deep, 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 deep in, and just really fix on them. And this time you can see that I'm using my thumbs to fix a little bit more onto the index finger. And when you can't dig anymore, take another shrug and don't let go, but just go with the shrug so that you've really got those second ribs, and then deep breath in and tilt your head back. And a nice little shrug as you bring those ribs back home again. And then finally, you can just free off your shoulders from those areas over here where you're clogging everything up by just take a breath in. And allow the shoulders to move back. And try to just open up your cage. And you will suddenly tend to find that you've now got a good flow, even in your nostrils, and you feel the front part of your neck relaxing so that all of these lymphatic drainages can happen. And that's our tidbit for today. Welcome back. This is our second tidbit, which now goes on top of the last one that we did when we freed off the first and the second ribs from the clavicle. This time round, what we're going to try to do is to free off the front part of the neck over here so that the drainage can come in from the head, the sinuses, the ears, and the mouth, and it can drain downwards. So again, carrying on with our theme of that first rib and the clavicle, what we can do is just fix with our opposite hand the clavicle and the rib, and just simply let your head fall to the left-hand side onto the opposite side, but making sure that your shoulder is being really held in its place by the left hand, and then just allow that lovely stretch to happen as you take the head into the opposite direction. You could possibly, even if you want to, gradually just turn your head to the left-hand side. So having freed off the thoracic inlet, this area over here where things are going to drain into, we now need to encourage the flow of the lymphatics. And the way that we're going to do that is by looking at these muscles, which are the sternocleidomastoid muscles, which stand proud on either side. And we're going to come along on either side of that, which is where the lymphatics are draining, and we're just allowing like a nice, natural, easy, gentle, almost like an effleurage kind of thing, where we're just allowing it to be milked downwards towards the beginning of the thorax. And please note that you're doing this really, really gently and kindly to yourself. Be kind to yourself, be gentle. None of this should hurt. If it hurts, you're doing it too vigorously. It should be done at a nice, gentle pace, because these lymphatics, treat them with tender, loving care. And you will know that there is a difference, because you will feel a nice softening of the tissues as the flow is beginning to happen. Okay? And then moving on from that, what we're going to try to do is to release this area here between the manubrium and the sternum. Quite often, if we are tight in here, remember, if we freed off the first ribs and the second ribs, the clavicle, now we're allowing drainage to happen here. But in addition to that, we also need to free off the area behind our breastbone, the top of the breastbone. So the area that I'm really interested in is what we call the manubrium, where it attaches onto the other bit called the sternum. Now, as you take a nice walk down with your finger pads, you will meet a speed bump here, just literally where the angle of the manubrium lies with the sternum. This needs to be in a nice harmony with the rest of your tissues of the body. So the way to do that is just really get in there with your finger pads again, nice and gently, but just fix. So a good way of fixing it is just by shrugging your shoulders in, and then just allow your finger pads to really fix that. Take a deep breath in, another shrug, deep breath in, and hold with your finger pads. You can carry on breathing, but really hold that fixation type of pressure, again, not too much, but just enough where you feel comfortable. And then take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, just allow yourself to stretch it all open, but stay fixed on this area here. So breathe out, drop your shoulders, a nice roll, and allow yourself to breathe normally again.